Okay, now the session is on recording. Let me admit some of your class fellows and begin shortly. Here is your screen. So, in today's lecture, we are going to talk about writing a cover letter. Cover letter is almost similar to writing a job application. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the characteristics of successful writing, and then we're going to talk about the characteristic of being concise in your write-ups. And as in the example of how to be concise, we are going to look at cover letter, and we would do some reading activity also, and I'll show you sample cover letter, and as an activity you would be producing one. Okay, but before we begin, I would like you I would like to ask you what do you mean by concise? Okay, guys, go to your chat and put down what do you mean by concise. What is your understanding of being concise? What is being concise? Okay, Maruf is right. Who else? Rabia Samad, please mute yourself. Yes, anyone else other than Maruf? Maruf has given you the right answer. What else? हाँ, वो तो we are giving information in every kind of writing. We are giving information. Okay, being concise is yes. If I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Sayyida Barira. Okay, yeah, it's short also. So concise is being to the point and short. It's not. It has to be short and without being to the point, but it has to be short but to the point. Okay, whatever you have to say, you say in few words. This is called as being concise. So basically, any writing that happens to be, just wait, let me admit. People, please start joining in. Okay, even before 9. But then this is a disturbance during the lecture. As in the live classrooms, when girls enter during the lecture, so it happens to be disturbance. Similar is the case with online classes as well. Well, we have already begun. Okay, now for good writing, there are 4 C's that we consider. For good communication, there are basically 7 C's, but right now we're talking about writing. So the 4 C's we are going to talk about, and we'll do one example of writing activity related to all these 4 C's. Okay, Amna is right and Tasneem is also right. Larab has answered correctly. Fine, I got you guys, and it's correct. So, people who do not know the meaning of being concise can look at the chat. Your class fellows have answered it correctly. So, for successful writing, one needs to be concise, compelling, clear, and correct. Okay, compelling means persuasive. When you are able to convince someone. Okay, we have done some of the sentences, summary sentences also related to being persuasive. But we are going to discuss it with an example of writing a resume. Okay, then you have to be clear, you have to be correct, right? So we are going to do examples with these as well. Now, I'm giving you like 5 minutes, and you are going to, there's a story of a person. I had one student explain career counselor. Okay, so he shares the story of how a student could not be concise in her job application. So what happened then? Okay, and what is his advice? So I'm giving you 5 minutes till your rest of the class fellows join in to read this passage. Okay, and tell me your understanding of it. Be concise, the cover letter. Okay, this I have already told you that the cover letter is also job application. Okay, and the cover letter, of course, it covers something. What does it cover? It covers your resume or a CV, right? So cover letter does not go independent. It's not an independent kind of a writing. It has to cover something. It has to accompany an other written document, which can be a CV and which can be a resume. Okay, there's a difference between CV and resume. We are going to talk about that also. But right now, what you are doing is you're reading a story. Okay, this I have already told you that cover letter is almost a job application, and it covers the CV or the resume. And what is the function? These are sent to your prospective employees while you are applying for a job. There can be number of channels through which you can get to know about the jobs. We are going to look at that also. How do you find a job? And we are going to practice also related to one of the media through which you get to know about the job vacancies. Okay, but right now what you are doing is you would be starting from here. This have told you what is a cover letter and what does it cover. Now I had a student start from here, read the story, and all of this. Okay, till here. You can't tell them everything about you, right? So till here you would be reading it all and telling me what's important here. From here, I had one student. I hope you got that. This is Richard Worth's Communication Skills Library, and we are reading page number 20 today. If you have the books, good enough. Otherwise, you can read from my screen too. But of course, I would not be changing the pages as you read, right? You would be reading at your own speed. While you guys are reading, I hope, and I'm repeating, that you are doing the activities also, okay? The activities that I give you. I hope that you are doing it and compiling them all together, okay? You would be submitting it at the end of the semester, right? Right, right. I got you. Okay, next is Kiran. Yes, Kiran, unmute yourself. Kiran, you raised your hand. Are you still there and want to speak? Okay, Kiran is no more there. Can I just randomly ask people to, come to discussion, because it's always Maru who's talking? Can we take, Adila Mehdi? Yes, Adila, what's happening in this passage? Maru, please lower your hand. It confuses me that you might want to speak again. Okay. Yes, Adila Mehdi. I don't know if you're still here, or you just log in and go away. How do I know?
Ma'am, should I start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, ma'am, it is about a student who was to join, who is explaining a career counseling. He's having a difficult time writing a cover letter, and he was told to highlight the important point and write a cover letter, but he couldn't do that, and he just write everything. He included everything instead of writing the important point. So So his cover letter was not accepted, and
That's
that's it.
great. That's great. That's great. Okay. Um, People, you must have understood what we are talking about, those who have just joined. We are talking about how to be concise, to the point, and short in our communication. And for that, we are reading about the cover letter. Cover letter is equivalent to job application. And there is a story of an unsuccessful student who wasn't successful to get a job, and the career counselor tells us the reason. The reason was that he wrote a very detailed cover letter. Okay. And he tried to write everything, because I told you that cover letter is not an independent kind of a writing. It always goes with your CV or resume. So you write a very few things in the cover letter, and the rest of the things are in your CV or the resume. Okay. So what happens is, when the student writes everything, the HR, human resource department of any good organization, gets a lot of CVs and job applications. So they do not have time to read like pages and pages of people's cover letter, right? So basically, they read the cover letter, and if they like it, they read your CV or the resume that is attached, right? If your cover letter is not impressive, it has details that are not needed, then the chances of your being shortlisted for a job, are lesser, or they might get diminished also. Okay. So this is the story that we are told, right? And here is what happened. He could not or wouldn't be selective. Okay, instead he wanted to include everything. This is what went wrong with the cover letter of the student, right? So the employer was not impressed, and he did not get the job. Okay. So see, all of these HR people, they get a lot of cover letters from people getting job. Even our HR, which is, SBA is still a small setup, the HR receives a number of applications, after which, you can become an intern here, right? Other than that, um, basically your purpose, like we have been doing the summary sentences, and in the summary sentences we try to write about our purpose. And we have already worked with three purposes. One is to persuade, another is to describe, and another is to explain. Other than these purposes, there might be several other purposes, but we have practiced to write with these purposes in mind. And CV, not CV, this cover letter or your job application basically has the purpose of persuading someone. Okay. So see, your summary sentence is already given here. What is your purpose, and what would you include in your cover letter? Having said that, this example also tells you how to write summary sentences that we have already practiced. Okay. I, of course, cannot check the summary sentences of everyone, but there are some good samples that are given here. Okay. So before writing a proper cover letter, you would be writing down your summary sentences. Okay. This is the pre-writing activity. As for here, given in the example, my letter persuades an employer to interview me. It includes several of my outstanding accomplishments to convince an employer that I am right for the job. Okay, so this is the purpose, and this is what he's going to include in the cover letter. Okay, we're going to do this in detail. Now, there are two kinds of cover letters. One is the cover letter that is the targeted one. By that I mean that if you have seen a job somewhere, if you know that there is a vacancy, okay, you can get to know about this by many means. Like you can be told by your teachers that there is a vacancy, for instance, in the university. You can be told by a friend if there's a teaching vacancy, or if your friend is working in the bank or in a software house, you are told um, through internal sources that there is a job, or these jobs are advertised as well. Okay, and through different forums. The most common is the newspaper, right? Most of these government jobs and some of the private jobs are advertised in the newspapers, right? So when you know that there is a vacancy, there's a different way of writing the letters. Okay. The other kind of cover letter are unsolicited letters, okay, or unasked letters, in a way that when the jobs are not advertised, you are not told that there are any vacancy. You just need to know that whether there are vacancies or there are no vacancies. So that those kind of letters are actually random letters. You though you write about your accomplishments, your degrees, your awards, things like this, but then you do not know what kind of vacancy might be there in a particular organization, okay, or what skills they might need, right? Otherwise, in the advertised jobs, they always tell you about the age requirement, the qualification requirement, the skills that they need on the job. So you know a lot through the advertisement, or if you have got to know it through someone inside in the organization. Otherwise, this unsolicited um, letters can also be written, okay, like when you graduate, you get your degree, so you keep on, um, sending these cover letters along with your resume in order to find a job. That's another way of doing things, okay. But today we are going to talk about the popular kind of writing a cover letter for a job that is advertised, okay. First of all, we are going to look at a pattern, an example, and then we are going to actually do this activity, and we are going to see some of the simpler patterns also and some of the detailed patterns also. But always remember one thing, that you must have read it here also, that a cover letter is not more than a page, okay. It's a very short official document. It is never more than a page, right? So the purpose of your cover letter is, of course, to persuade your employer to shortlist you, to call for an interview, or to take you to the next step of getting a job, right? So what you should do is you should list your experience, skills that you possess, and focus on the skills that are needed for that particular job. Every job needs a different kind of skills, okay. Every job needs a different kind of qualification also, but with a single qualification, you may apply at a number of places, okay. For instance, you're right now students of CS and IT, so you will have your place eh, in a number of fields, okay. You may work in software houses. We don't have some in Quetta, but in other cities we do have these software houses. You can even work from home, of course. Then you are independent, you don't apply for jobs here and there. Then you can work in the bank too. You can work in the media, all these media houses. So with a single degree and several skills at hand, you can apply at a number of places, okay. So you don't tell everything about you. So you write down a few things, and these should be linked with the employer's value, and you have to nail down what you want them to know early in the letter, okay. So basically you write very, very briefly, concisely, and if you know the exact vacancy and what kind of skills are needed for it, so you can be more accurate. Otherwise, the other kind of letter um, that I have told you about is just to, without knowing whether there's a vacancy in an organization or not, You just send your CV and with a cover letter. Okay, this happens in our HR of SBK Women's University when you graduate and you're interested in teaching in your own department. So you just drop your cover letter and the CV with our HR. So whenever any department or your department needs intern, then the head of the department contacts the HR to give us some interns, and then they evaluate your CVs. They may call you for an interview if there is a need to, and then you are given to the department. Okay, so similar might be the cases in other organizations also. So fresh graduates usually drop their CVs here and there, and the chances are that whenever they need a person like you, so instead of advertising, now what happens is when they advertise they receive a lot of applications that might not be needed or that might be difficult to sort out. So sometimes some organization do not advertise, they just make use of the CVs that are lying with the human resource department. Okay. So of course for permanent faculty or for permanent job in our university, it is of course advertised. But as far as the case of interns is concerned, or sometimes we also hire volunteers who are not paid but they help us in the departmental work. So then also we ask the HR to provide some good graduates to us, right? But today we are going to practice a CV, oh sorry, a cover letter that is written after seeing an advertisement and we know what kind of a vacancy is being advertised. Okay, so other than that, in the Western countries, their private sector is very strong, and people can get it. There's a huge chance that people would get jobs in the private sector. In our country, the private sector is not very much developed, so we have another way of securing the government jobs, right? Okay. So basically, the cover letter is organized in the shape of a pyramid, right? And do you know about the pyramid? What do you mean by pyramid? Okay, get to your chats. Oh, there are people in the waiting. Okay, what is a pyramid? And where do we find these pyramids? Okay, or what do we call it in Urdu? Pyramids. Yes, Cobra. Unmute yourself here. I think you're raising your hand. Can we listen to Cobra? Cobra, can we listen to you? Okay, Adila is right there. They are found in Egypt. Okay. Okay, this is the shape of a pyramid. Pyramids are, found in Egypt, and in Urdu they are called as what do we call them in Urdu? These are usually, tomb of the kings. The kings were the preserved bodies of kings were put here. Yes, exactly, Kiran. Thank you for helping me. These are called as ihram. ihram में मिसर जिनको कहते हैं जिसके अंदर उन्होंने फिरौन और pharaohs हम English में कहते हैं, pharaoh हम उर्दू में कहते हैं. Pharaoh wasn't just one person. It was every king of Egypt was called as a pharaoh, and in Urdu pharaoh. तो जितने वहाँ pharaoh थे उनकी सबकी they have preserved their bodies, and the preserved bodies are called as mummies, right? So mummies were actually locked in these pyramids with all their gold and everything, right? So these English people then, discovered it, and they even took the body of the most famous pharaoh in Islamic history, and his body is now lying in London Museum. Okay. Sana Jilani has written something that I'm not able to read. Okay. Anyway, the shape of the pyramid is like this. Okay. And these are ahrams, and ahram में pharaohs या pharaoh होते थे, और जो सबसे the popular pharaoh who's linked with the story of Hazrat Musa or Moses was taken away by these Britishers, and and that is put in um, in the London Museum. I'll show you one of the pictures of London Museum and these mummies. These preserved pharaohs are called as the mummies, mummified pharaohs. Okay, I'll show you. I've been there, and I'll show you in the pics. Sometimes I have to find that out. Where is my pic lying? But I'll show you. Okay, the body of the pharaohs. Anyway, now what is here is that we start, since we have to be very, very specific, we have to be very concise while writing a cover letter. So we start with the most important point, and then second most important point, then third and fourth. So basically a cover letter will have like 4 paragraphs. Okay. Now, what do you write in these 4 paragraphs? We are going to look at that as well. In the first paragraph, you actually write, where did you see this job advertisement? Or where did you, or how did you know about job advertisement? आपको इस job vacancy के बारे में कहाँ से पता चला? Advertisement से पता चला, social media से पता चला, print media से पता चला, आपने अखबार में देखा, आपने ये जो है इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया में टीवी में इश्तिहार आ रहा था, किसी चैनल पे वो जॉब एडवर्टाइज हो रही थी, क्योंकि होती हैं चैनल्स पे भी जॉब एडवर्टाइज होती हैं, सोशल मीडिया में भी जॉब एडवर्टाइज होती है. People keep on sharing sometimes the pages of the newspaper or the websites. ठीक है. बहुत दफ़ा ये होता है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस अपने वेबसाइट पे वो जॉब्स दे देती हैं. They do not make use of the print media or any other media. ठीक है. समटाइम्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस अपने एम्प्लॉयज़ से कह देती हैं कि हमें रिकमेंड कर दें विद दिस स्किल्स इफ़ यू नो समवन. तो उससे ये होता है कि उनको इतना इंटरव्यू और शॉर्ट लिस्टिंग के प्रोसेस से वो बच जाते हैं, और इंटरनली ही उनकी सिलेक्शन हो जाती है. इफ़ यू आर रिकमेंडेड बाय वन ऑफ योर फ्रेंड हु हैज़ अ गुड रेपुटेशन इन अ पर्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, अगर वो आपको रिकमेंड कर देता है तो वो आपकी जॉब हो जाती है. बट we are talking about when you read about the job somewhere. Okay, you get to know about it through some means. तो पहले पैराग्राफ में आप यही लिखते हैं कि you are applying for a position that you have seen somewhere, right? Now in the second paragraph you talk about your experience, what you have been doing, because most of the jobs demand your experience also. Okay, and you can write about your skills here, and then you write about your degree. Now you might ask why your degree is not important, or why your degree is comes in the end, while we would be looking at a pattern also. The pattern might change from time to time, or from person to person also, but basically, why do you mention your degree at the end? Because whenever a job is advertised. For instance, I would give you an example from my own field. Now, in order to, let me admit some of your class fellows. Okay, now what happens is when I'm giving you example from my own field. Now, if you want to become a lecturer in the field, okay, in any of the university, then you need to have an MPhil at least. Previously, when we got jobs, we only needed 4 years BS um, or a master's. Okay, so we needed only 16 years of education. Now they need 18 years of education to become a lecturer, right? So anyone who would be applying for the job, the first requirement would be to have the degree in the relevant subject. Now what happens is everyone would have this degree, so this is nothing new for the employer to know. And we are talking about an advertised position which demands a certain degree. Okay, so whenever university positions are announced, they always tell us to look at the criteria on HEC website, higher education website. So there is one uniform criteria for all the universities in Pakistan. Okay, so as far as lecturer is concerned, she needs to have 18 years of education with no third division, right? So sometimes advertisements do not um, tell you the requirement in that particular advertisement, but they link you to some other page to look at the requirement. For instance, as I've given you example, whenever you will see vacancies in a university, the requirements are given by the Higher Education Commission, not the university itself. Okay, Kiran is asking, जब हम फ्रेश ग्रेजुएट्स होते हैं तो अप्लाई करें तो मैम सब एक्सपीरियंस का कहते हैं उसका क्या करना चाहिए. Okay, now for instance, when we are hiring interns and when you are hired as a lecturer at at, at a university, okay, I can talk better about my own field. I do not know about the rest of the field like media houses or the banks or the software houses where you might get jobs according to your degree. But as far as um, the initial jobs are concerned in any of the organization, they do not demand experience, but of course experience gives an edge. Okay, a degree, as I told you, everyone has. Okay, so more important things are the skills and your experience that other people might not have, or such things may differentiate you from the rest. Okay, and might give you an edge also. For instance, if you know, if you write about your communication skills, or you have good shorthand skills, okay, or you have good writing or speaking skills, so that might be an edge. And most of the advertisements that you see these days for any kind of job, they demand the skills of communication. Okay, so if you have better communication than the rest of the people who have applied for the job, so your chances are more than the other ones. Okay, now so we're going to look at one of the cover letters also. We're going to write a cover letter as well. So in a cover letter, the most important information to include is the position for which you're applying. Okay, this information goes in the first paragraph. So you need to tell your employer where have you seen the advertisement, or where did you find out that there might be a vacancy in the organization. Now this is important because if I again give you example from my own field, whenever SPK advertises jobs, they are not just advertising academic jobs, they are advertising administrative jobs as well. Okay, one is academic jobs, not only of one department but of many departments at the same time. So when in the first paragraph you tell that you have seen what position you are applying for and where have you seen the ad, so the HR would quickly get where to put your what category of your application should be put in which category. Okay, so that really becomes organized. If they do not find this information in the first paragraph, they might not entertain your application because they might not be interested in reading further. Okay, so usually people read just the beginning of the paragraphs or just the beginning of the these letters, cover letters. So it is very important that the basic information, what position you are applying for, you write it right away in the first paragraph, in the first line. Okay. Now in the second paragraph, you can describe your skills, work experience that is related to the job. You might have, experience in different fields because maybe you stay Khuda na khasta jobless for some time, so you work here and there. You might be a IT person, but then you start teaching somewhere because you did not find a job appropriate to your skills. But when you are applying for an IT job, the teaching experience is not relevant. So it's not important that you mention that particular experience. But if you are joining a university's IT department to teach there, then of course your teaching experience counts. Okay, but if you're trying to join a practical field of IT or CS, then whatever you have been doing, for instance, teaching or working somewhere else, so that is not a very relevant experience. So you mentioned the experience and the skills that are more relevant to the job. There are certain skills such as communication skills that are needed everywhere for every job. Okay, so you can mention some skills are very common to all vacancies, to all jobs. Okay, so you can mention it everywhere, but some of the skills are job specific, right? So you mention it for the particular job. Okay. Now, here you provide your experience and your skills related to the job, and you try to catch the attention of the HR. Okay, something that they are actually looking for. Now, in the third paragraph, you may mention some, some few things that are not really important, less important qualifications that you may possess, and then in the fourth paragraph, you conclude the letter and ask for an interview. Okay. So what the things that you believe that most of the candidate would have, is the minimum requirement of the job is your degree. Okay. Other than that, when you want to stand out, you need to have an edge over the rest of the candidates. So you mentioned something that is needed on the job, and that is not, that is not with the other people, or the other people do not have a particular skill or the particular experience. Now I'm going to give you a position and the place where you have found the advertisement for the job. Okay, so we would be writing a cover letter. I'll select a position for you. You'll highlight your skills and the experience in the cover letter. You can refer to it. Now, right now on your screen, let me admit few people, and then we are looking at this screen. What you're supposed to do is this is, Maria's letter. You're going to follow the format. Let me explain you the format. Okay. This is Maria's address, right? So on the left hand corner, and we are basically following these days American American format of writing letters and applications. Otherwise, if you remember your school times, we used to write address here, and then we used to write end the letter on the right hand corner of the page. But right now, since we are following the American style of writing down these documents, so it's all on the left side, okay, of the paper. What you're going to do is write down your address, okay, then write down the address of the employer that I'm going to give you, okay, and then you will start here by addressing if you know the person, okay. If you know the name of the person who has advertised the job or who is dealing with the vacancies, you can straight away write down his or her name, okay. But if you do not know who you are writing to, so you can always write their designation. For instance, HR department, uh, and the name of the organization, okay. um, because of course you know the address, but you do not know who exactly would be dealing with it, right? So you start here. If you know the name, well and good, because American societies are, they not, Americans are really direct people, right? So they usually do not start with respected sir or madam. One thing is the address is with dear, and then maybe the name or the designation, whatever you know, okay. Now in just 2 lines you're going to talk about what position you are applying that I'm going to give you, and then you're going to talk about your what you have been doing, and then will be talking about your graduation, and then you will be ending here, okay. I'll read this letter for you, um, and then you can begin writing, and I'll show you some other letters as well for your reading activity, also for your writing. This is the simplest one. Otherwise, you can have a little, complex ones also. But keep the language very, very simple. Now I'm giving you the question that you're going to do the activity, and then you may upload your files in the chat. Chat has an option of uploading the files. If you're working with Word, if you're not working with Word, you can send the pictures, okay. I think you can send the pictures here. Okay, let me put the question that you're going to do as an activity. Write a cover letter for the position of lecturer in CSIT department of SPKW, advertised in Dawn on 20th July 2020. Okay, I'll give you an option also. Okay, write a cover letter for the position of a lecturer in CSIT department of SPKW, advertised in Dawn on 20th July. Okay, you may write on this. Yeah, you're going to do it as a classwork also, and you're going to do it in your assignments as well. So if you have a Word, you can share a file. You can see the file here. And if you do not have a Word right now, you can just write it here. You can send the whole letter in chat as well. Other option is, you can send the pictures if it picks up your picture. Okay, you can write it on your registers and then just take the picture. So I would be able to read and correct a few so that the rest of you may have an idea. Okay, Now I'm giving you another option. Yes, please do it now. Okay, do it now. I'm going to show you other letters as well, but you're doing it now. If not now, at the end of the lecture, let me put another question, okay, for you. So you would be writing a cover letter. Write a cover letter for the position of data analyst. In Butham's quota. Advertise in Dawn on 20th July, or advertised in the news on 20th July. Okay. Write a cover letter for the position of data analyst. Let me put this here. In Butham's quota, advertised in the news on. Okay, the news is the newspaper. Okay, the news. I hope some of you know about this. Okay. So here is an option, whatever position you would like to apply. Okay. This position needs a different set of skills and experience, and this position needs a different set of skills and experience, but you can write about your own degree. Okay. Right. Okay, guys, do not do it right now. Just let me show you some more. We are going to read some more of these. Okay, let me read this for you. Dear Miss Rogers, please follow this format. Okay, I'll show you other formats also, but I would prefer that you follow this one. This is the simplest one. Okay, right. So let me read this letter for you. Dear Ms. Rogers, I'm applying for the position of assistant manager, which you recently advertised in the Evening Times. This is the newspaper. Okay. During the past 3 years, I have worked part-time as a sales associate at Callaway and Company, the largest department store in the tri-state area. I was twice voted Employee of the Month. I received this award in recognition of my service to customers. Callaway and Company also promoted me to assistant manager of my department. So this is basically, she talks about her experience, okay, and her accomplishments, that she was a really good employee, and then she substantiate her stance by telling how did she get a quick promotion. Okay. Okay, Safinas, Muhammad. I mean, if you have any difficulty technically with electricity or connectivity, it's okay. This is on recording also, and the work that I'm giving you, your class fellows would be doing it, and we would discuss it. Okay, so these problems go along. Okay, now finally she writes, I'm graduating in June with an associate's degree in retailing. My grade point average is 3.6, and I've taken courses in marketing and sales as well as in accounting. I look forward to speaking with you in the near future and discussing what I can contribute to your organization. Sincerely, and this one. Okay. You put the date here after your address. Okay. So you would be putting you have seen the job on 20th. Okay. And you might be writing the letter the same day or a day after. That's really up to you. You may be writing the letter the same day. Okay, let me show you something more. Let me change your slide and show you something else. some of the important aspects that we need to, take care of. Wait. Okay. See, here, you know, writing persuasive job application letter. You address the letter to an individual by name. Okay. If you know the name, otherwise you can know the designation. Now, what I have given you, you can write about, you can write to the director HR, director human resource. If you do not know the exact name of director human resource of SBKW or Butum, so you can just write director HR, human resource. Okay. For advertised job, name the source, name where you saw this. Okay. Include job title, date, and publication. So the jobs that I have given you were advertised. One was advertised in the Dawn, and the other was advertised in the news, and they were advertised on 20 July 2020. Okay, so one job title is lecturer IT, lecturer in IT or lecturer in CS, and the other is data analyst. Okay, so you can write about the name of the publisher, you mean the name of the newspaper. Now, I told you that there are other ways of getting to know the job. Right now, the activity that I have given you is an advertised job in the newspaper. Otherwise, I told you that, if someone referred you, name that person. How did you come to know about this job? So you may write, not here in this activity, but anytime, like in exams, if you get to write this letter, cover letter, in which you want to say that you have been referred by someone. So you can say that your friend has been working with you or with your organization for this long time, and she told you about a vacancy. Okay, in your IT department or your computer science department, whatever. Okay, show that your qualification fit the job specifications, show your knowledge of the reader's business, or show that your special talent would be an asset to the company. Asset means asasa hona, ठीक है? तो I have already told you कि there is a particular qualification that is needed, और वो कुछ advertisements में वो दे देते हैं उन्हें क्या required है. For instance, कुछ advertisements में आप देखेंगे कि they require a MBA or whatever the job requirement is, CA, yeah, 4 years bachelor's degree, or yeah, MPhil, yeah, PhD, whatever the job requirements would be. So you just have to match your job requirements whenever you see a cover letter, but you have to be persuasive, because everyone would be covering with, more or less with the same qualifications. So you need to know more about the organization and its working, and you should tell them that you are the right candidate. So it's really up to you what skills you're going to focus to show that you are the one for the job. Okay, now that was the beginning. In the body, you demonstrate that your background and training meet the job requirement. You talk about your education, experience, skills. Okay, you may refer to your resume, but your resume is a separate document that we are going to practice. Okay, so you just refer to your resume. Otherwise, you avoid giving the same information that is already found with the attached resume. Okay. Now, for closing, ask for an interview. Considering hooking the request to a statement reviewing your strongest points. Okay, so basically, your first aim, of course, your ultimate aim of the cover letter is to get you a job. But your first aim of your cover letter is to get yourself shortlisted for the interview. Okay, so you should make it easy to respond. Tell when and where you can be reached during office hour. Some recruiters prefer that you call them. Okay, basically this is covered in your resume. ठीक है, वैसे जॉब जो हमने अभी मारिया का लेटर पढ़ा था उसमें उसका you know उसमें उसका एड्रेस लिखा हुआ था. You can give your email and you can give your phone numbers in the cover letter. Otherwise, they are already a part of your resume, basically. Okay. Let me check if we can get some more examples of cover letter. No, we have examples of the resumes. We will be doing the resumes anyway. Okay, you may start doing your activity. Okay. Okay, as a matter of format, you would see that it should be in this corner. You cannot write your address here, from here to here. Okay. You cannot put your address in the center. It has to be on the left, so whole of it would be in the left side. Okay, you will not occupy much space, but you would write your address in a line, try to, or two. Then you can give your email, you can give your phone number also, and then you can write the date. Okay, she hasn't given her email or the phone number, but you may give your emails and the phone number here, and then this is this address of the employer. You can write Director HR, SBK Women's University, Bururi Road, Quetta, Pakistan. ठीक है. Or Director HR Butons, Takatu Campus, Airport Road, Quetta. Whatever you're selecting, right? So here you would write your address, but please stay on the left corner. Okay. Do not extend it to other places. हाजरा फजल इज सेइंग कि मुझे असाइनमेंट का समझ नहीं है. हाजरा, मैंने आपसे ये कहा कि हर रोज हम एक या दो एक्टिविटीज हम करते हैं, ठीक है, और उस एक्टिविटीज का सारा नंबर करना, इट्स योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. आई वुड आई एक्चुअली फॉरगेट कि कितनी हमने एक्टिविटीज करेंगे. एक्टिविटी 1 एंड देन यू गिव द हेडिंग. आज की एक्टिविटी मुझे नंबर नहीं पता. मारो कौन सी एक्टिविटी है ये? Third, fourth, fifth, which activity is this? Maruf is going to reply in the chat. Yes, Maruf.
Fourth,
okay, fourth. Right. So Hajra, you are going to write activity 4, and after writing down activity 4, you would write cover letter. Okay. Or job application, cover letter, bracket में job application, and then you would start doing your activity. अब ये है कि आपने कुछ लोगों ने मुझे अपनी एक्टिविटीज ईमेल कर दी. मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया, दोनों इंग्लिश में भी और उर्दू में भी, कि आप मुझे मेल ना करें. आप लोग इसको कंपाइल करें, आप लोग करते रहें जितनी भी एक्टिविटीज हैं. एटलीस्ट हम 10 या 10+ एक्टिविटीज करेंगे इसमें. तो जब वो एक्टिविटीज हो जाएंगी, जब आपका सेमेस्टर बिल्कुल एंड होने वाला होगा, मुझे आपको असाइनमेंट इवैल्यूएट करनी होगी. तो मैं आपसे एक असाइनमेंट नहीं बनवाऊंगी. मैं आपसे ये जो एक्टिविटीज़ हैं इनको आप कंपाइल करेंगे. अगर यूनिवर्सिटी खुल जाती है आप मुझे हार्ड में सबमिट कराएंगे. अगर यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं खुलती तो आप 1 फाइल में मुझे अपनी सारी एक्टिविटीज़ सबमिट करा देंगे, ठीक है. और वो होगा समवेयर इन अक्टूबर. ठीक. तो बस आप ये एक्टिविटीज़ करते रहें. कुछ लोगों की मैं चेक कर लेती हूँ जो जल्दी कर लेते हैं. देन दे पुट इट इन द चैट ऑल्सो. वो आई कैन टेल यू वेदर इट हैज़ बीन डन करेक्टली या नहीं. अदरवाइज तो फिर I'll see in the end only. But try to understand whatever activity is given to you and try to do that in time, जितना क्लास में आपके पास टाइम होता है. लेकिन बेसिकली, और ये एक्टिविटीज़ आपने वर्ड पे करनी, एवरीवन. हैंड रिटन ना करें, ठीक है. वर्ड पे करें. अगर यूनिवर्सिटी खुली आप गोइंग टू गिव इट इन द प्रिंटेड फॉर्म. अगर यूनिवर्सिटी ना खुली आप मुझे ईमेल करेंगे. प्लीज़ गाइस रिमेंबर, डू नॉट डू इट ऑन योर रजिस्टर्स, ठीक है. आपने रफ वर्क करना है वो आपकी मर्जी है, या अभी आपने आपने रफ वर्क किया वो या पिक्चर्स अभी मुझे भेजी वो एक और बात है, लेकिन जब आप अपनी असाइनमेंट बनाएंगे तो उसको प्रॉपरली आप वर्ड पे करें। एवरी एक्टिविटी शुड बी ऑन वर्ड। जैसे हमने लास्ट टाइम एक नोटिस बनाया था, वो आपने वर्ड पे करना है। तो जब आप वर्ड पे करेंगे तो आपके लिए पॉसिबिलिटी दोनों तरफ होगी कि आपने सॉफ्ट में मुझे सेंड करना है, आप सॉफ्ट में कर सकते हैं। हार्ड में करना है तो अगर मुझे हार्ड में चाहिए हो आप हार्ड में कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। एमन सज्जाद इज आस्किंग अबाउट द एड्रेस नाउ। एमन सज्जाद, आई होप द स्क्रीन इज बीइंग शेयर्ड। ये यहाँ पे आपने एड्रेस लिखना है, ठीक है। जैसे आपको एक सैम्पल में दिखा रही हूँ, इधर आपने एड्रेस लिखना है लेफ्ट कॉर्नर पे, और लेफ्ट कॉर्नर पे ही रहना है, इसको इधर नहीं बढ़ा के, ना आपने सेंटर करना है ना इसको। और आई होप योर IT स्किल्स आर गुड। आपको पता है 3 तरह की अलाइनमेंट्स होती हैं वर्ड में, ठीक है। ये होती है आपकी लेफ्ट अलाइनमेंट। आई कैन इवन शो यू इन वर्ड, लेकिन आई अस्यूम उस दिन मैंने पूछा था किसको किसको वर्ड आते हैं, तो वर्ड तो जाहिर आपको वर्ड नहीं आएगा तो और किसको आएगा। हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को, अंग्रेजी वालों को थोड़े मसले होते हैं, बिकॉज दे आर नॉट रियली इनटू दिस कंप्यूटर्स, लेकिन आपको तो नहीं होगा। एनीवे मैं आपको ये बता रही हूँ कि आपने अपना एड्रेस इधर लिखना है और छोटा करके लिखें, ना कोई सही वाली डिटेल्स देने की ज़रूरत नहीं। उसके बाद अपना आप ईमेल लिखें, अपना फ़ोन नंबर लिखें और आज की डेट डालेंगे। मारिया ने 2004 में अप्लाई किया था, लेकिन आप 2020 में अप्लाई करें, ठीक है। उसकी डेट डालने के बाद यहाँ पे आप अपना एम्प्लॉयर का एड्रेस लिखेंगे। तो सिंस आपको नाम नहीं पता HR का डायरेक्टर यहाँ का कौन है, SPA कौन है, या HR के डायरेक्टर ब्यूटम्स का कौन है, तो आप लिखेंगे डायरेक्टर HR, ठीक है। उसके बाद आप एड्रेस लिखेंगे। अगर तो आप SBK में अप्लाई कर रहे हैं तो SBK इज ऑन बरूरी रोड, ओके। सरदार बहादुर खान वुमेन्स यूनिवर्सिटी बरूरी रोड कोयटा, बस, ठीक। ब्यूटम्स में अप्लाई कर रहे हैं, सो ब्यूटम्स इन तकतु कैंपस, एयरपोर्ट रोड कोयटा, ठीक है। तो जो दोनों ऑप्शन मैंने दिए, और ये आपने एक एक्टिविटी करनी है, इसमें 2 नहीं करनी। देयर इज एन ऑप्शन फॉर यू, या तो आप लेक्चरर की पोस्ट के लिए लेटर लिख दें, या फिर आप डाटा एनालिस्ट की पोस्ट के लिए लेटर लिखें। दोनों के लिए ना लिखें प्लीज। आई होप यू हैव गॉट इट। हाजरा, आई होप आई हैव आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन कि असाइनमेंट का क्या करना है आपने, ठीक है। एमन, आई हैव आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन, एड्रेस का क्या करना है, राइट। Okay, you can carry on with this, and you may also read this letter for us, okay. I'm giving you like 5 more minutes, and whosoever is ready with the letter may read it, may copy paste in the chat so we can have a specimen, right.